everyone imagine waking up one day and discovering that all the technology has disappeared. There's no cell phones, no tablets, no computers, and even no internet. The world will come to a halt. But what if I told you that all these devices rely on something even smaller than one cell in your body? And that something is semiconductor chip, which is a tiny but powerful item that rule our digital world. This microscopic chip plays an important role in how your phone can process millions of comments in just 1 second. However, have you ever wondered how these chips are made? Today, I'll take you behind the scene of how the sand transforms into the microchip. Today, my topic is semiconductor manufacturing process. I'll separate my presentation into 4 parts. First, I'm going to talk about how sand transforms into silicon and into the wafer. Then we'll move on to the circuits on the chip and the core and how they become the core of the chip. Next, we'll move on to how the chips are finalized, packages, and testing. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the future of the semiconductor industry. Let's start with the foundation of the semiconductor chip, just like the foundation of the building. We learned from science book that silicon plays an important role in semiconductor industry. Then, how do sand transform into silicon and then into the wafer? In many places, silica, also called the dioxide silicon, is the main ingredient of sand. The sand would mix with carbon and heat it to liquid. The carbon in it would react with oxygen to create silicon and carbon dioxide. The silicon would then be formed into cylindrical silicon ingot, and they will be sliced into pieces. And however, the surface of the pieces are rough, and it will negatively affect the precision of circuit. So the polishing machine is here to polish the wafer. Then the wafer is ready. Ooh. Then we'll move on to the second part, and it's time to draw the circuits on the chip. It's just like the design draft of the building, and we'll start the building. And because the circuits on the chip is pretty small, so it's impossible for people to use traditional way, just like welding, to connect the components on the chip. So here comes the photolithography. Before this progress, the wafer needs to be coated by 2 layers. The first, silicon dioxide insulating layer, and the second, the photoresist, which is a material that is sensitive to light. And people use UV light to blueprint the circuit patterns on the wafers, just like the spray paint stencil. The light would happen the specific areas on the photoresist, and then the unexposed part will be washed away by developer, and the the circuit patterns would be left behind. Then people need to etch and carve the unwanted part out on the silicon dioxide insulating layer. And this would usually use plasma or chemical etching. And finally, the rest photoresist layer will be washed away. And by removing all the unwanted part, there are tiny paths for current to flow. And this can make the chip perform calculation and process data. After the circuit is ready, the wafer needs to be conductive. And the process deposition is here. They need to have this process would use a thin layer of material to put it on the wafer, and this can create electronic characteristic, and also the ion implantation process, because the wafer is made by pure silicon, so it can't conduct electricity. So people would add impurity into it, and the process is called ion implantation. Just like this, people will put wafer in the instrument, and the ions will be accelerated and through the electronic field and then injected into the wafer. And this can make the wafer conductive. And after the ion implantation, people would have to make the chip can communicate and process information. And the metal wiring process puts a thin layer of copper or aluminum on the wafer, and this can build the electrical connection between the components on the chips. And this can build a network of wires and let the electrons to flow. And next, I'm going to talk about how it packages and tested. And by the EDS test, before they send to the devices, they will undergo the EDS test to make sure that all the chips performed flawlessly. And the last process, the packaging. The wafers will be cut into many individual parts, and it's still the tiny pieces of silicon. So it's fragile, and they need to be packaged into casing. And eventually, they can put the manufacturer and ID numbers and batch numbers onto the chip, and you're done. Last, I'm going to talk about the future of semiconductor industry. From 1970s indicator to today's microchip, people have made significant progress. And many companies like TSMC, Intel, and Samsung investing billion in providing smaller and more efficient chips. And in the future, there might be breakthrough in quantum computing and 3D chip stacking, and this can level up how chips transform information. And at the end, think about it. Every time you send a message, and watch a video and use an AI. You're relying on something small, so small that you can't even see it. So next time when you are using your devices, why not think about the incredible journey of an semiconductor chip? This is all about my summary today. Thank you.